Many other people knew about this behind the scenes. Some, not all, but some of them in positions of power, influence, leverage, knew of this. They also knew.
So Candace is in a position of power, leverage, and what else did he say? Influence?
That the safety of my children included keeping it private. So if you're familiar with the idea of extortion, then you know the feeling well. Now, some of these threats were so thinly veiled that I'm frankly surprised you didn't all guess immediately.
Stephen has a lot going on, I guess is the best way to say it. He has a lot going on, and that should be clear.
I don't know if he said her name, so to speak. He played a video of her during the video. Like during this thing that they started recapping right now, he plays a video of Candace. So he definitely put her name into it.
Because people don't do stuff like this if there's not a lot going on in their lives. I would like to implore my audience.
He played a clip of Candace during her show, talking about Crowder and saying, I don't know if he did this because of other things that he has going on in his life. That's about as close as she got to outing him, so to speak. And he used that as proof that she was extorting him, which was fucking weird.
Audience and everybody that isn't paying attention to this situation, not to condemn him, but to pray for him.
That was conservative talk show host Steven Crowder announcing that he was going through a divorce and appearing to accuse another conservative commentator, Candace Owens, of doing something akin to extortion. Here's more.
Some other issues have been, or I should say, inferences have been more pernicious behind the scenes with demands and threats to use this information that they believe would be so publicly embarrassing to me and my wife at a difficult time that it could be used, knowingly putting my children in harm's way. So to those self-styled Christians.
Yeah, Boone, you got it. How does it put children in harm's way? How do people know that you're getting a divorce, put your infant children in harm's way? Like, these are toddlers. I don't know exactly how old they are, but they're 1 or 2 years old. They're tiny babies.
Conservatives and allies, well, not in my book. Now, if you find yourself, I don't want to get into details, so this is going to likely be the only time I have to address this or want to address this. If you're asking yourself, hey, did X person or did Y person know? The answer is likely yes, which will be made alarmingly clear as this process of discovery continues. And it also, by the way, makes me that much more appreciative of those who did know about this and, in understanding the best interests of my family, my children, kept their word and used discretion.
Candace Owens responds.
Yeah, I don't know if it keeps using the word children to get more sympathy or people on his side, but what does it have to do with your kids, dude? That's the same video he was talking about having sex with dudes? No, it's not. There's no way. There's no way it's that same video. I've seen that whole video that they're playing clips of. I didn't see that shit.
Responded on Twitter saying, quote, Steven Crowder accusing me of extortion is so patently insane that it honestly makes me question how there are still people who cannot see how thoroughly undone he has become. This is not stable behavior. He is a man on a spiral. Outright bizarre and concerning.
So we should do a little bit of a flashback here, what led to this level of acrimony between Candace Owens and the Daily Wire more broadly and Steven Crowder. Crowder had some weeks ago conversations, a very preliminary conversation with the Daily Wire about maybe coming aboard, Daily Wire being the conservative news giant entertainment institution that features Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and Matt Walsh and some others.
And Candace
Owens.
Yeah.
So they had made a very just preliminary offer, like, well, here's what an offer might look like. It was bonkers bucks, millions and millions and millions of dollars.
It was the $50 million offer, right?
Yes, I believe so, yes. But it had some stipulations, and it was still, their point of view was, we're still going to negotiate it, but here's the eye-popping number we're trying to hook you with, and then we'll try to reel in with negotiations. Crowder was insulted by it, not so much by the dollar figure, which is a huge amount of money, but that they would subtract from some of that if he ended up getting banned on several different social media sites, something he thought was quite likely, and in fact he had been banned.
All right, real quick, what the fuck is up with this guy's hair? Like, legit, I cut my hair myself, and my shit looks way better than his. You're on TV, right? You have, like, fucking stylist and shit? Like, what the fuck, my guy?
Before he might have even been demonetized on YouTube at the time. So then he's like, you're silencing me. You're agreeing with big tech to silence me. You're colluding with them in this effort of censorship. Aren't we fighting this as conservatives? And then they said, I think kind of reasonably, that we're not saying we endorse what social media is doing to you. We're trying to build an alternative platform, but you primarily would make money for us by being on those platforms. So you're just not going to be, if you're not making that much money, you're expecting us to just take a loss. But we could further negotiate it. But instead of you having that conversation with us, he secretly recorded surreptitiously Jeremy Boring, who's the head of the Daily Wire, and then he tried to embarrass them based on that. And he went full scorched earth against them, accusing them of like putting young conservatives, like treating them like they're on a plantation or something.
Yeah. And part of the posture of this, right, was that he first publicly blew up the offer and said he was being treated really unfairly. Yeah. And he had a lot of public support until the actual number in the deal came out, because he was really posturing like they were trying to exploit him. They were undervaluing his worth. He, like you say, he was like kind of trotting out all of these kind of subordinates as like a proxy for how us working people are being treated. And then when everyone found out that what he was complaining about was $50 million, there was a lot of backlash in the other direction.
Jeremy Boring did a very long, involved, polite video. In no way, in no part of that did he call on his audience to attack.
Well, these guys are definitely doing a pretty good recap of the scenario for sure. Not that we needed all of this.
Or do anything. I thought it was a very rational explanation of the dispute from their standpoint. Now, some of the hosts got pretty upset about, I think totally understandably upset about the tone Crowder had taken. Candace Owens leaned into, that clip we showed, that kind of very passive aggressive.
He's got a lot going on.
Got a lot going on, and I want you to pray for him.
Right.
And so then there was speculation about what that might be, and I don't want to get into people's personal lives, are their personal lives, and everybody has messy drama and whatever. For Crowder, it might be relevant, and obviously it shouldn't be embarrassing at all that he's getting a divorce. Tons of people do that.
Of course.
It's totally fine. But he might perceive it to be something he would want to keep a secret, because he is very socially conservative. His views are extremely socially conservative. He wrote an article, I believe, for Fox News when he was getting married years ago about how they were going to save themselves for after marriage. They absolutely committed to that. And now it's and he says in that video that he just made that this is not something he wanted. This suggesting it was chosen by the other party.
Yeah, that's what's so curious about this. I mean, but for him talking about his relationship and what is now a public divorce, and some of the insinuations made by Candace Owens, I just can't imagine that anybody would care. Even if Candace Owens insinuated that he has something going on, if he were like, I'm getting divorced, nothing to see here, folks, I don't see how that would reflect poorly on him, or that most people wouldn't just say that's a thing that happens in the modern world and we can move on. I mean,
it's because Steven Crowder doesn't live in your liberal bubble, and divorce is not just a, oh, whatever, everybody does it kind of thing. We get that's how you guys think of marriage. It's whatever. But that's not how conservatives are supposed to think of marriage. So obviously, it's embarrassing for him. Especially if you're getting a divorce, with tiny babies.
I do understand that he is
Crazy
conservative,
embarrassing.
and before his divorce became public, he is now going viral for this. He slammed no-fault divorce as a system under which, quote, if a woman cheats on you, she leaves, she takes half, and has been complaining on the internet about how he doesn't believe that you shouldn't be able to get divorced without having to, prove fault on the other party. And of course, a lot of, people, more left-leaning people are taking that as an opportunity to dunk on him, saying he doesn't want his wife to be able to, he wants to have dominion over his wife in a really kind of regressive way.
Yeah, he talked about not supporting. He regretted the divorce laws being the way that they are, that it would be so easy for someone to get out of a marriage. So he was getting a lot of criticism. And he's a combatant in the fray. He makes fun of people. He belittles people for various reasons all the time. So but I feel bad for him, honestly, if this was like a source of great, personal shame, or he felt that like Candace Owens had this over him or something.
But that's what's confusing.
Well, I think he did feel that way because of his views on the subject.
Right, but if I subjectively believe something that isn't broadly understood, I understand that there's a sense of personal embarrassment for him, but the personal embarrassment is his own sense of failure in the marriage. I'm not calling it a failure, but that seems to be where he's coming from. The threat that a third party has over you is creating further embarrassment by making it public and making you the subject of public judgment. And maybe I just am not understanding the maybe conservative communities that he is a part of that might in fact judge him for this divorce.
We're jumping around the issue. I mean, Candace Owens says it's crazy to accuse her of doing something akin to extortion. And I'm not suggesting she did that in any legal sense or anything like that. But now, given what Crowder has conceded and watching what she said in that video, that seems pretty cruel to me.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Something akin to extortion.
It certainly does. I mean, the one other part of the video, of his response video that
Not akin to an extortion. I mean, for Crowder watching the Candace video, he would understand what she's saying. Because it's about him. But nobody watching Candace's video took from that, well, Steven Crowder is getting a divorce. You know what I mean? Or at least I didn't. I don't know anybody that did. Unless Crowder's just mad that her saying that kind of started the snowball effect where people went, well, what is going on with his personal life? And then they started digging into it, and that's how it all came to light. So I could see I could be butthurt about that.
I reacted to is the invocation of kind of family and safety as a reason not to have public discussions about things. It just strikes me because for so many years, liberals were painted as, or accused of being snowflakes. There was this term safetyism that John Haidt came up with that said, liberals and leftists, they want trigger warnings. They weaponize the idea that they are under physical threat to win arguments and gain power rhetorically. And I do think that, of course, there are legitimate safety concerns that exist with any public figure, but we're starting to see repeatedly, we saw this with Elon Musk and the Elon Jet case where he censored a number of journalists that were covering the Elon Musk jet account drama, using safety to my children, et cetera, as an excuse. And it is an interesting turnabout that seems to have happened here, where all the kind of the family is being foregrounded.
I don't know what the safety issue is particularly, but I understand why he felt under that maybe he couldn't speak his mind fully. I mean, he did speak his mind fully about the situation with the Daily Wire, but why he might felt under threat because of what Candace Owens had said, and that's pretty bad. Even though in the dispute itself, I think the Daily Wire's side has more merit. So
yeah, for sure. Maybe Candace Owens knows more that she's sitting on, which again is
that
kind of a cruel
doesn't
thing.
paint her in a better position. That puts her in a worse position.
No, there's nothing about Candace Owens' behavior here that points her in a good light, except for maybe that natty blazer she's wearing in that clip.
you were complimenting her sense of fashion.
Look, it's a great set. It's a great jacket. What can I say?
What can we say? All right, tomorrow on Rising, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor.
All right. So there's the opinion from the lefties of what's going on the right. Definitely some clickbait, though, because he didn't reveal why That was not a follow-up to everything that has gone out. So that was definitely a clickbait title there. Definitely a clickbait title. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of up in the air with old Steven Crowder. I mean, nothing that Dave said, like, completely blew me back. Was like, oh, wow, he's like this. Now, would I have made all the decisions that Steven made? No. Would I have made the same business decisions? No. Can I see his perspective on where he was coming from on certain aspects? I can. Can I see Dave's, point of view? For sure.